These broad beans were sown 2 weeks ago, and if you see, just about 100% of them have come up. I'm really pleased with this because I sowed some about a month and a half ago, and I sowed those in the greenhouse, and only about 30% germinated. Now, the thing is, to get something to germinate really well and really quickly, you need to find the optimum temperature. And the optimum temperature for a broad bean to germinate is 12 degrees C or 54 degrees Fahrenheit. And so what I did is I put these on trays on a windowsill where it was pretty much that temperature. That is the soil temperature we're talking about. So it's 12 degrees C soil temperature, not air temperature. And obviously the soil temperature is much more steady than the air temperature. So the air temperature in this greenhouse may go right up on a sunny day, and then it might plummet to below freezing at night. And they would germinate between about 7 degrees C and 15 degrees C, but it's not the optimum. The importance of a seed germinating really fast, it will just produce a much better plant, and the one that's germinated much slower will never catch up with it because they have the reserves that they need within the seed. And if they imbibe water when you sow them and they just sit there and don't germinate, they're using up all their reserves. Whereas when they germinate quickly, then they've got all those reserves to grow on and move on fast. Now, the problem in a greenhouse, once I've got these now, I've moved them from the warmer windowsill in the house to the greenhouse. But my problem here is mice, potentially, because they are still a little bit vulnerable. I reckon they'll come and eat these shoots a bit. So I'm going to put them up there into that tray, which is almost impossible, I think, well, impossible for a mouse to get up. But I'm going to give them a good soak first. Now, I have actually got an interesting new broad bean here. This one is Statissa, and it's one from Suttons. It is the first mangetout broad bean, and I love mangetout peas, but this one, you pick them when they're little, and then you cook them in their pods with a tiny bean inside. Now, I have done this before with standard types of broad bean, and they are really nice, but you have to pick them at just the right stage, otherwise you do get a lot of pod and not a lot of bean. But with this one, the pod is quite nice and thin. And then if you can't keep up with all those mini pods, or you've had enough, you can let them grow on and you can have lovely big beans, and then you peel them in the same way. Broad bean is one of my favourite vegetables, so I'm just going to give them a quick water. Now, having gone on so much about soil temperature, when I water these, I'm obviously not going to water them with freezing cold water. I've actually got slightly warm water, because if I put cold tap water onto these, I'm going to plummet the soil right down. Now, because they've germinated, that wouldn't be so bad, because you only need that warmer temperature for the germination period. As soon as they've germinated, you can then put them into much more cooler temperatures. I will just harden these off in here, then I'm going to harden them off in the frame, each for about a week, and then I'm going to plant them outside. And some growers, commercial growers, will just have cabinets, and they'll just put the seeds, maybe 10 trays of broad beans stacked on top of each other, into the cabinet, set it at the right temperature, i.e. 12 degrees C, and as soon as they see movement and them starting to move in the top trays, they'll bring them all out and give them a lower temperature. It's just that trigger that they need to initially germinate. So now I've done that, and I'm going to, gosh, you can hear the wind howling outside. I'm just going to put them up in here, and hopefully the other one will fit on the other end just about, and that will keep the mice at bay. Give them a week there, a week in the frame, and then I'm going to put them out in the beds, and then I reckon sort of Mayish or so I'll be picking in May, June, hopefully. But if you haven't sown any broad beans now, don't worry, you can go on sowing them maybe to April, but do remember, keep the mice at bay, give them 12 degrees C, and you'll be eating plate loads of beautiful broad beans in the summer.